So this is gonna, for some of my audience, this is gonna go into an area they might be uncomfortable with, but I'm gonna ask you, since you claim to be Jesus, therefore you would know something, most people wouldn't, about this subject. Then tell me, what is the afterlife?
And what most people don't realise is that the afterlife is actually just an extension of this life. We are created as a soul that is connected to two bodies, a physical body and a spirit body. These bodies interface with the different worlds in which we've been created to live in. Now, when we're in the physical world, we're like learners, we're like babies, learning new things. And one of the things God's trying to teach us here on this earth is how to engage our will in harmony with love, and what the results will be if we do that. I think we've learnt very well, if we engage our will out of harmony with love and with fear, what the results are, because we've seen the results for the last many thousands of years. Many of us have engaged our will negatively. We then have a tendency towards violence. The violence then causes us to go into very damaging acts towards other people, and that has been the exercise of our will in an unloving direction. So we've already experimented with that. I don't feel anybody on earth needs to experiment with that anymore. Right? What we need to do instead is experiment with the other direction, engaging our will in harmony with love. Now what God's trying to do is that God has created this nursery, the earth, which helps us to see the effects of our choice that's out of harmony with love and in harmony with love. Now, once we pass as the same person. We are exactly the same person, but we just have a spirit body. To us, that body then becomes material. It's like the same kind of a body that we currently have. We're now existing just in a different dimensional space. Now, mathematics has proven, I think at this point, that there are 9 or 13, I can't remember exactly how many dimensions they've actually proven at this point, through supercomputing.
That depends on which theory you believe.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So they've proven that there are other dimensions, shall we say, at least more than one.
Of course.
Now, it would make sense, of course, that we can live in them, certainly. Now, what I'm suggesting is that actually God created a body for you to live in that particular dimension as well. And in fact, in the higher dimensions, God's created a soul for you to live in those dimensions as well. And I'm not suggesting that everyone has to believe it. I'm suggesting that we all need to experiment with that, right? And there is a lot of evidence supporting the fact that there are spirits. And all I'm suggesting is that spirits are just people who lived on earth, who have now died and passed over. And these people, who are much the same as they were when they were on earth, are able to do different things because they're now in a different body. But it was a body that was created when their parents had sex in the first place, right? So it's a body that's been with them all of their life. And that person has now the ability to grow in love still, just as they had the ability on earth to grow in love. Or they have the ability to act in a way that's disharmonious with love. They have that ability too. They can do both things in the spirit world just like they could do both things when they were here. The difference though is that you cannot get to the further dimensions in the spirit world without growing in love. So if you decide to remain as you are here on earth in terms of the definitions of love, then you will remain in the first dimension of the spirit world for as long as you decide to not grow in love. When you decide to grow in love, then you will move to the other dimensions. And I believe it's also possible that we can see a world that is similar to those higher dimensions if we all decided to grow in love while we were here on earth. But of course, that hasn't been the outcome at this point in time. But I do believe that is possible in the future. But when I've gone through the spirit world, I have seen the very big difference between what I would classify as the hells of the first dimension, in other words, the first dimensional space and how dark people can be in terms of in rage and in violence, right the way through to the heavens, if you want to call them that, of the higher dimensions where only love reigns. I have seen all of those dimensions, and If anybody could see those higher dimensions, they would certainly wish to be there. And if anyone could see the lower dimensions, they would certainly want to know how they can avoid being there. And what I'm saying to people is that how they can avoid being there is by being in harmony with love. That has always been the case. Do you remember in the Bible, you're a religious person, so in the Bible you remember there's, when I was meant to have spoken, or Jesus if you want to say Jesus instead of me, was meant to have spoken about the rich man and Lazarus. Remember there was a man who was Lazarus, he was on earth, he was being fed like a dog from the rich man's table, and they both passed, in this parable, they both passed into the spirit world. They both died. The rich man was in the hells of the spirit world because of his actions. His actions were unloving, that's why he was in those. The poor man, the Lazarus, was more loving, and so he passed into a higher condition. He could see the lower condition and interact with the lower condition, but the man in the lower condition could not get to the higher condition. The only way that he could get to the higher condition is by growing in love. That's the only way. The only way we're going to see an improvement on the planet is by all of us choosing to grow in love. It's the only way. And that doesn't mean we'll all accept the same belief systems, but there is a few belief systems we're going to have to all accept. One of them is what love is. We're going to have to all accept that love is not violent. We're going to have to all accept that love isn't punishing. We're going to have to all accept that love is not wrathful or angry, that love doesn't resort to those things. That's what we're going to have to all accept at some point. No matter what religious faith or non-religious faith we are of. We can be an atheist and accept these particular positions. In fact, I know many atheists who are far more loving than many people of many religions, because they actually do have a pacifist nature, many of them. And for that reason, they will pass into the higher areas of the spirit world because of their loving perspective, even though they don't believe in God. So the spirit world is just, it's similar in some places. The spirit world is very similar to Earth. In some places it's much worse than Earth as an environment, and in other places it's much, much, much better than Earth. It depends, where we will be personally will depend totally upon what our soul's condition of love. You know, what kind of life have we lived here on Earth in harmony with love is going to be the question, the only question, in fact, that we'll finish up asking ourselves. Yeah.